Hi everyone, it's Neve here and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing watercolour backgrounds and a technique called Watercolour Kiss. So with this technique I'm using the Ken Oliver Colourburst watercolour powders, which are a highly pigmented powder, and once you add water to them they just burst into life. The substrate that I'm using is old encyclopedia pages. I was given a whole set of encyclopedias to use, and I've been using them as mop-up pages and so on, and the paper is so beautifully thin and textured that it works great with watercolours. So this technique is basically just blobbing on watercolours in any way, shape or form, and smudging two pieces together and pulling two pieces of paper together and pulling them apart, so you get a mirror image and you get to spread the colour over between the two pages. So to do this, I'm spraying my page with water and then just dropping in some of the different colourburst inks. And I'm using a combination of the powders and the liquid metals from Ken Oliver Crafts. Just dropping them onto page, and a little bit goes a long way. They are really super pigmented and such a saturated colour. You can see me using my paintbrush just to move, very wet, just to move the paint around to cover the whole entire page. And once I'm happy with the coverage, you can see it's really wet and lots of ink on it. I then put the second piece of paper over the top, smush it together and just pull it apart carefully. And that gives you the watercolour kiss, sort of kisses of it as it comes apart. In most cases I'm using three or four colours together, usually colours that go together. So this one's a very autumn based piece that I was doing. And the spray that I'm putting over the top, if I put it over, and you can see it in the top right hand corner, is the Heidi Swap Colour Shine in gold. And that just adds that beautiful metallic. The one that's going on now, the green, sparkly green, is a liquid metal. I think that one's called Metal Jade. So they're really interesting powders to use. I haven't used them as much as I should do, particularly not to actually do watercolour. I tend to use these powders a lot for backgrounds. So once I've done my pages, I'm doing another one now, and this is the Colourburst Violet with the gold in it. The violet's just a magnificent colour, it just comes up instantly, and you get those nice splodgy like firework effects. By kissing it apart, pulling it apart, and then patting off with the paper towel, you get a much lighter effect, and you can see the golds and the metallics coming up through the paper. So what I've done now is I've decided that I want to scrunch up the papers, just give them a bit more texture, and I've put some Brilliance ink over the top and some archival black over the top. So this is just to make the page more textured, more interesting background. You don't have to do that, and you can see in a lot of those pages that I haven't. This is me actually using one of these pages in my art journal. So I'm starting off with a pearlescent liquid acrylic ink. I can't remember who makes this brand, and using one of my pages that I've done the watercolour kiss technique on the background, sticking it into my book. And to make the background just blend in a little bit more, I'm using this very ancient Judikins unmounted stamp, which I used to use all the time, with archival ink over the pearlescent ink. Then just gluing down my page. And it's just such a lovely thin crinkly type paper, it's just beautiful. Going around the edge of the torn piece of my paper with a gold Sharpie marker, just to highlight the gold that's in the centre of the page as well. And the image on the right is an image out of a colouring book I found in a $2 store, which I really loved. So I'm using my alcohol markers, my chameleon pens, to colour the image in. The paper that the colouring books on, it's slightly glossy, so the alcohol inks don't bleed through too much. They kind of stay on the surface, but I've got a feeling that the gloss paper is that clay gloss paper, so it sort of sinks in somewhat. It doesn't sit on the surface as much as you would expect it to. So just using a few different shades of brown to make my highlights in the hair. I need a lot of practice with my alcohol markers. I'm not a particularly brilliant colour inner. I like doing my abstract, just blob on paints, which is why I really like those background pages, because they're so unique. You can't plan what's going to happen, you just have to live with what's happening. And I do apologise for my arm going up and down, but my alcohol markers are just up near my camera, so every time I go and reach, it sort of blocks the view. So I decided that I wanted to give my lady stripes, and while I was doing this, I thought that would be actually a perfect place to do a little bit of journaling and to write into her top. So going back and finishing off the flowers, trying to get some different shading by using different colours. Again, I'm not using my chameleon pens as effectively as I should be, because at the top of the pen, that long tip where you can see the clear barrel is actually a blender solution. So you touch the blender solution to the nib of the pen and it transfers over, so you can get a gradiated effect on your coloured image. It's a beautiful effect, but I haven't been that successful with it because I can never match up the amount of ink again. So if I've got a larger area to cover, I don't get that gradation the whole way through. So it's something I have to go back and practice and maybe watch a few videos on how to do it properly. So just speeding through here, adding in the colours. I really love using colouring images in my art journal, just because, particularly if it's a page I want to complete really quickly. This is sort of a half an hour ago, because I already had the background and I had an image that I could use. So basically it was a stick down and colour in go in my art journal. So I'm going to use at the moment I'm looking up the lyrics that I wanted to write down, and there will come a time when you'll see no more tears, and love will not break your heart but dismiss your fears. Get over your hill and see what you find there, with grace in your heart and flowers in your hair. I'm honestly not sure. It's lyrics from a song, and I cannot remember who is the author or the musician who wrote it. I'm using my Jane Davenport Epic pen, which is a carbon-based ink, which is smudge-proof ink, waterproof, and it just writes really well. When I grew up in Ireland, I actually learnt to write with a fountain pen, so my handwriting tends to be an awful lot neater when I actually use a fountain pen as opposed to using a biro, and I do not know why. It's probably just muscle memory, but it just seems to work for me. So now I'm using one of Jane Davenport's tissue papers, collage tissues, and some collage medium to stick it down my page. I don't recommend sticking it down the way I did, because I nearly stuck it to the other page upside down. So just painting over the top with the collage medium just to make sure it's really glued down. It also almost makes the image translucent. And as a final touch, I just again got my gold colour shine out and splodged it over the top just to bring the gold back into the foreground again. I'm using a foosball pen to go over the quote, just so it stands out a little bit more. And that's my background, my art journal page, which I was really happy with. But the fun part was just sitting there playing with my watercolours to create the backgrounds. So I hope it's a technique that you can use and have fun with. It looks great on cards, it looks great in your journal pages. Have fun with it. Thanks for watching.